Hey, beloved, I'm so glad you're here. I am coming to you from my garden because this series, you and I are going to get into spiritual living, conscious living, aka the road to freedom and liberation. And what does that look like in the day to day choices you and I have to make? What does a spiritually aligned relationship look like? A spiritually aligned health and well being practice look like? A spiritually aligned finances, career, vocation, community connection look like? Because it's when you and I understand the very life that we are living, the choices you make every day, the people you interact with, the offerings of your gifts to life itself, is spiritual living, is your spirituality. So let's get into it in this series, which we're going to go through September and October for the next couple months. And the practices I want to focus on in relationship to day-to-day living, pleasure, play, the spirituality of your pleasure, the spirituality of playing. I want to get into fasting and what it means to abstain and maybe take some things out of play so that you can more wholly be who you are intended to be. And as always, I want to talk about rest, but I want to talk about a specific flavor of Sabbath, which the Hebrew definition of Sabbath is often translated as to stop, which I'm down for. There's a bunch of stopping that we could get into. But it also can be translated as delight. So one of the practices we'll be diving into over the next couple of months is the Sabbath practice of stopping and delighting. I hope you will join me if you are in the Albuquerque area. We gather at Sundays at 4 p.m., get into community, get into practicing with others. There is a depth and experience of yourself and your spiritual life that can only come in community. Let's get into it. I love you so much. Because we are in our conscious living series right now, and the focus that I want to share about today is conscious relationship, aligned relationship. But I want to talk about friendship. I don't think we talk enough about friendship and the ways that we create chosen family. Yes? And I'm going to let Jeff and Clarissa, the cutie pies, talk about romantic partnership next week. But today we're going to talk about all the ways that all the special relationships in our life are absolutely a part of our spiritual journey, especially when we decide that we are spiritual beings, right? And I think that there's going to be a way in our own process. We talked last week about our own health and vitality and getting our own vibrant selves in alignment. But when we do that, we then can show up in relationship and make that relationship a playground for our spiritual life, right? Getting in alignment in our relationships as well. And it's messy. We are messy. People are messy. And relationships are messy, but they're intended to be, right? That's part of the deal. We bump up into each other. We touch each other's soft places, and we pull scabs off of old wounds with one another so that our wholeness can be more revealed. And I'm telling you right now, whatever fantasy you may have that your spiritual playground and your spiritual evolution is a solo journey, you are mistaken. It is not possible. It is not possible. So I want to share, you may not know that Rodney and I go way back. We go way, way back. Rodney was the first jazz gig I ever played in my life as a 20-something was with Rodney Bowe in downtown Albuquerque. And he was really mean to me. Former Rodney Bowe was a little bit of a jerk face sometimes. And what's been sweet is 25 plus years later is here we are.
in the Fab Lab, which is what we call the studio at his house, writing new music and creating together, and talking about our history and healing any of those places that still feel a little like, what happened? What happened that one time? Remember that one time when you did the thing? What happened? And we can talk about that. You know why we can do that? Because we each are individually committed to our own spiritual lives. Right? And for Rodney to say, hey, maybe there is an opportunity for you and I to do something even cooler than we've done so far. Let's do this thing, let's write music together, which anyone who creates with other human beings, that's a wildly vulnerable thing to do, is to bring your creative ideas into the mix with other people. Your lyrics, your musical ideas that have just been inside your own little being, right? And then to share that and be like, does this suck? Is it any good? And then to be celebrated and to be able to share really tender parts of our lives with one another through our song, through our creativity. To pray for each other because we're coming in off a rough day. Our kids are acting up, our dogs aren't acting right, our partners are being something. And this is what has evolved over 20-some years in friendship. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I want to share with you, and then Rodney also gave me permission to tell on him in whatever way I want to. Because I be knowing some things. So I want to share with you from a book, Free Play, from Stephen Nachmanovich. He is defining for us the idea of divine play, which is a Latin word, lila. Also can be translated as love. But so he says lila also means love. Lila may be the simplest thing there is, spontaneous, childish, disarming. But as we grow and experience the complexities of life, it may also be the most difficult and hard-won achievement imaginable. And divine play coming to fruition is a kind of homecoming to our true selves. How many of you got grown up and serious? Like really serious? I know I have run into that. And I forgot that this thing called life, this fleshy, amazing body that I have been anointed with and appointed to be here on this planet, is here for experience, is here for creativity, is here for enjoyment and pleasure and play. Otherwise, we could just hang out in consciousness and skip all this physicality stuff. Yes? So as we got older and got really wise and serious and deep in our meditation practices and transcendent, we left our childlike wonder behind. Jesus of Nazareth said, "Be like children." Our divinity exists in that childlike wonder. There is so much in the world to be serious about. There's so much to grieve. There is so much to lament. The new world that you and I actually want to create together and want to be living in together requires our joy, requires our imagination, requires our possibility of play and co-creation so that something new can arise. And sometimes that's hard won. Sometimes it's really hard in moments like these in the history of humanity to return to the center of ourselves that is naturally joyous. It almost feels like we need to give ourselves permission. Anybody feel a little guilty when you're having like a really good day? Yeah, because it's a shit show in the world right now. But your joy is part of the change. Your creativity is what creates the new world. Rodney Bowe, who's going to take the stage here in a bit, has recently gone through a shit show of change in his life. relationship change, work change, housing change, child care change. I mean, pretty much every area of your life that could change has changed in this last couple years. And it has not been fun. However, where Rodney has landed and the response he's had, which has been something that that was why I asked him to come today and share and play for you, is because he has decided that his vision that Spirit has given him for his life is worth fighting for, and letting Spirit strip all of this stuff away from him that was no longer serving the truth of who he is. He was willing to say, thank you, God, and let me go hard for the dream of my life. Let me make creativity and my art a priority. Let me make fatherhood a priority. Everything else can wait. The hustle, the grind, the 401k, screw it. My joy gets to come first. Love gets to come first. That's a courageous thing to do. But that's one of the things that we can lean on each other to take those kinds of leaps. That's one of the beautiful things that friendship can do, right? Is when we are doing really hard things, when we are taking leaps in our lives, and we need more than our faith in moments, when our faith doesn't feel like it's enough to carry us through, when we realize that the solo is not going to work. We lean on our beloved friends. We lean on our besties. We lean on the people that we are willing and feel safe enough to let ourselves be seen with. So I have a guiding question, because if you haven't figured out yet that you cannot walk this journey solo, I'm inviting you to consider that reality right here and right now. And I want to give you some questions for reflection as we move into our music time. Do I feel safe and celebrated to show up as my whole self in my relationships? And I'm going to invite you to just take 30 seconds right now to consider that. Do I feel safe and celebrated to show up wholly in my relationships? And I invite those of you watching online to take a few moments to reflect as well. And let's do a shout out. I haven't done a shout out in the room in a while. So what's your answer, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Anybody a no? It's okay. Maybe some no's. There might be some relationships that you feel less safe and free. Yeah? And again, just information. We're just reflecting. All right, next question. Do I offer safe space for my beloveds to show up as their whole self in our relationship? Am I a safe place, a soft place to land for others? What do you think?
Sometimes, most of the time.
And you get to be honest with yourself. You know, I heard something, I think it was on NPR or a podcast, I don't know. I've been moving and cleaning a lot, so there's been lots of podcasting and radio shows. But there was a scientist who was saying that that we are in a moment in time because of the amount of information. We are taking in information like from a fire hose, right? And this has never happened in humanity ever before. But he said that we are moment in human history that is the least reflective human ever. We spend 0 time reflecting. So I offer these reflection questions. It's something that we take time out in our services for, so that we can get back in that habit and to really get rigorously honest with ourselves. Am I a safe place? Who am I a safe place for? Who am I less safe for? What is required of me to be a safe place for others? What is required of me to make use of the soft and safe places in my relationships? Where do I need to maybe grow or stretch a bit to show up more vulnerably in some of those safe places? So I offer those questions for you to also take home and spend some time with.
I am Dino, a licensed spiritual practitioner here at the center, and I think I'm going to kidnap Jeffrey so I can do the service next Sunday. Hey. Oh my goodness, I love him so much. If you will join me for our opening prayer, I would so much appreciate it. I do know that this day has divinely arrived for us. All week long it was an intention and an affirmation and a knowing that we would gather, and here we are. And for this I am so very grateful, for this very precious day of life, for each other, for our pets and for our family. For those that could not be here with us today, let us remember them in this moment. Wildly grateful for our precious day of life, and for all of you, our guests and our family, for being here today. Let us remember one another in graciousness and kindness, in goodwill and faith, and most importantly in forgiveness as we travel out through our week. And together we say, and so it is,